Director and executive producer Jody McVeigh-Schultz, is here to talk about the new four-part docu-series that follows the shocking scandal, which raised alarming questions about student privacy. I'm talking about Prime Video's Spy High. Good morning, Jody. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm glad they didn't have technology when I was in high school.
Right?
Oh my God. What gives a school the right to spy on a student?
Well, in this case, the school said, we're giving you these expensive laptops. We need to make sure that they're not going to be stolen, or if you lose them, we can find them. But their solution to that was to turn on the webcam and take a photo every 15 minutes. And if you think about where these laptops are going to end up, they're going to be in your bedroom. Some students were taking them into their bathroom to listen to music while they showered. One journalist in our documentary said it was like killing a fly with a bazooka. You did not need to utilize this much invasive surveillance in order to just maintain, the physical inventory.
Speaking of privacy, males, but what about the females? If they're in the shower, if they're changing clothes in the bedroom, what was the school's defense on that?
Yeah. Well, essentially, the school said we weren't trying to do any of that. And of course, they went through this sort of extensive investigation, and even the FBI got involved because obviously you have underage kids. And now you're starting to worry, well, is anyone from the IT department like looking at these things? Is there, some sort of child pornography thing going on? So all of that was a worry at the time and was really disturbing, I think, to the parents in that community.
Interesting. Now, what can we expect in this four-part docuseries?
I will say, all of the episodes are coming out on April 8th, and you are going to want to binge this because there are so many twists and turns. And we've talked to people who have watched this for the first time, and they keep saying, you know, that shocked me. And then I saw the next thing, and that was even more shocking. And it really is. You will not be able to predict where this goes, which is something I love to do in docu-series. Is just to surprise people, really.
Definitely. Now, is this still going on today?
So that's what's interesting. This is a story about a specific high school district outside of Philadelphia in 2010. But part of our story is how this stuff is still very, very relevant because instead of surveilling people through the webcams, now school districts are using AI to gobble up essentially everything you're typing while you're logged into your school account. And they're sending it through these programs that catch keywords and try to figure out if a student's going to bring a gun to school, harm themselves, any number of things, which on its face sounds good, right? But what happens when you start surveilling everything kids do is you start picking up false positives. You start, essentially invading their privacy in ways that's harmful to them. We had somebody from the ACLU in our documentary say, teenagers have bedroom doors for a reason. They deserve a certain amount of privacy while also keeping them safe. And that's sort of what we're dealing with in terms of what's happening today.
Speaking of today, what's very interesting also what you when you brought that up was this. You know, teenagers in every generation have their own language and their
Yes.
own phrases, which can be misinterpreted by adults. Has
Yes.
that happened in that? Do you see that happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what we come back to over and over again is um, when adults are trying to make sort of when they're getting everything that a teenager is doing and they're making decisions on, oh, when do you call the police on a teenager, that you'll end up realizing that vulnerable populations are the ones who get the most negatively affected by this stuff. And it's partly because the administrators or the police or whoever is sort of, you know, providing, like, who is administrating this stuff, they don't understand kids well enough, right? That's part of what happens. Yeah.
Like my dad, when I walked out with an afro and a dashiki. Wait a
Yes.
minute. You should be listening to Temptations, not to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. What's going on here?
Amazing.
Jody, what do you see as far as the future after this docu-series and after what's going on in the schools? What do you think is going to happen in the future?
I don't think surveillance is going away. I want to be clear about that. There are cameras everywhere. I think we need to be aware of it, and we need to talk openly and transparently about what surveillance we're comfortable with, what surveillance actually helps us, and what is actually hurtful. We talk a lot about, are we trying to protect our kids, or are we trying to control them? And the times where it gets into controlling, I think is dangerous. So I hope this opens up sort of lines of conversation. We talked to some folks in Minnesota who had already advocated successfully for a law that banned surveillance of students in their high schools. So things can change, and we've seen it happen. But we need to be aware of exactly how much we're being constantly surveilled.
There's a park here in St. Louis that we used to go to as teenagers, like a little love place to go to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine if there were surveillance cameras there.
Right?
Yeah,
The times
definitely.
are changing. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yes.
are. We're speaking with director and executive producer Jody McVeigh-Schultz about Prime Video's Spy High. It's a little scary, it's a little interesting, and it's a little disturbing. Jody, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Blend.
Thank you so much, James.
All right.
Appreciate you.